Dear friends, this is my third lecture on international relations. So today I will discuss theories and approaches. When we talk about international relations, so that is basically intergovernmental relations and also the relations among or between the non-state actors, which can be different non-governmental organizations or international organizations. So how we approach, for example, is state like an individual. So when one individual makes relations with another individual, so what is their approach? How they approach to each other. For example, you are in a classroom and you want to make an approach to a male or to a female companion or friend in your class. So what is your theory? Like under what paradigm, under what theoretical model you try to approach that individual? And what theory like you feel yourself to be a realist? For example, you are from Europe, or you are a Christian and you want to approach a Muslim. So what is your theoretical background at that time? Or for example, you are from one ethnic background and the other person that is of another ethnic background. So how you approach, what is the theory, what is the idea in your mind when you try to approach to that other person? So similarly, how different states, how different countries, what approaches they use to approach each other, to have accessibility to each other, how they establish relations, how they cooperate with each other, how they coordinate with each other. So this is my topic for today. Let us understand the theoretical background of this whole scenario. So we have a traditional or classic approach. So traditional or classic approach means that the things are either real or ideal. The things are either real or nominal or ideal or liberal. For example, when we approach to another state, how we establish the relations. So the theory and the background is this, that we are realist. We want our power, they want their power. We want to strike a balance of power. We want to increase our power. We want to increase our influence. So we live in reality. We don't live in ideals. We accept the things as these things are. We don't take the things for granted. We don't try to shape the things as it should be. So what the thing is, so that is realism. Now there is another theory, and that is Neo-realism. So the difference between realism and Neo-realism is that in Neo-realism, anarchy is very much important. That the world, it is anarchic. There is no central government on the basis of world, like there is no international government. There are national governments, but there is no international government. There is not one authority which controls all the governments, like around 200 states in the world. So we don't have any one government to control. Like one state has a government, and that government controls land, order, economy, culture, and many media, communication, currency, foreign relations, education, health within the state. But is there any government which controls the whole world? All these 200 countries can become like 200 provinces of one international government? No. So there is anarchy, and that anarchy is very much important in Neo-realism. While in idealism, they consider that the things as it is an idea, so the things can be ideal. The United Nations can be powerful, there can be regional cooperation organizations. But liberalism means that what you think better for your country, for your state, the same you should think better for other countries also. For example, democracy, it is a good system for Canada, or human rights, or development, or freedom of expression. If you are in the favor of free market economy, if you are in the favor of these values in your country, you must promote these values in other countries. Then you become liberal, you become liberalist. And these are ideas, these are good things, this is goodness of human nature. That's why we should try to promote this goodness, this virtue, these ideals in other countries also. So that is liberalism. And when we talk about neo-liberalism, so neo-liberalism is like a that is the that is a little advanced form of liberalism, because liberalism was more attached with leftist, with the communist or with socialist ideologies. But in the neo-liberalism, the concept of market economy, or for example, the concept of game theory, that there can be zero-sum game or there can be non-zero-sum game. There can be absolute gain or there can be relative gain. So in neoliberalism, there can be absolute gain. In the game theory, there is absolute gain. For example, there is non-zero-sum benefit. There is competitive benefit. For example, if one country is gaining, so other countries are also gaining. But in the zero-sum game, the sum total of the gain or the sum total of the loss, that is zero. Every state must strive, must struggle to get maximum benefit, because the sum, the totality, that will be zero. That is more in realistic theory. So in the neoliberalism, if there is cooperation, that cooperation may not be only in security, may not be only in power, but that can also be in economics, culture, and other aspects of international relations. So that is then new liberalism. And then, the human thought, it was like getting development with the passage of time. And then we see many other theories, that scientific revolution, when the science became like dominant. So if science that is more based on empiricism, that is more based on experimental approach. So if there is more, we can do experiments in laboratories, and we can predict, and we can foresee things, and we can take theories to test, and then that can be verified internationally. So that was scientific revolutions, that if you can do scientific development in other fields, you can also do it in international relations. And then the behavioral approach, that states is the sum total of the behaviors of individuals who are running the states. As in psychology, you can predict or you can judge behavior of an actor. So similarly, the state is nothing. State is just a dead entity. State is the sum total of individuals running that state. So we can predict the behavior of states according to different behavioral patterns, because behavior is that is response to stimulus, and stimulus is change in environment. So what changes are occurring in international system, so those behaviors can be studied. So this is called behavioral approach. System approach is that the things continue according to systems, like there is a United Nations system, there is economic system, there is a society, a social system. So the things happen and work in systems, not on basis of individuals, or not on the basis of realism or idealism, but that there are systems, and those systems we should study. We should focus on the system, like education system of a country, agriculture system of a country. If the education system is strong, so it will have a lot of impact on the international relations of that country. So as I discussed, new realism and new liberalism. So then comes two like important theories and approaches. Those are postmodern and critical theory. Postmodernism in international relations is to challenge everything and deconstruction, that what has been studied so far in realism, idealism, behavioral approach, scientific revolution, neo-realism, neo-liberalism, all these are not valid. Postmodernism challenges everything, and then they think that the things are relative. These are based on different societies, and it depends on different situations, and then you can have understanding of international relations. Critical theory then criticize, like postmodernism, but it criticize. Criticize means that there is a critique, there is evaluation, critical thinking. That you can, there are theories and there are meta theories. Like you can make a theory of theory. That if idealism is a theory, so we can criticize this theory. If realism is a theory, so we can criticize this theory. Positivism or post-positivism. Positivism is that, what is positivism? That whatever, for example, we see with our sense data, what we see, so our senses, our five senses, we get data, we take it to our mind, and rationally we think over that data. So this is empiricism, and only this is valid. This is called positivism. And there is no influence of the subject and object. For example, if I'm studying how Pakistan is making relations with India, so the person who is doing it should not influence this research. This is called positivism. While post-positivism is that a Pakistani international relations scientist will have prejudices, biases. It is not possible that you make international relations like a chemistry laboratory in which you are studying different chemicals. Chemicals, human beings are not chemicals. So that is called post-positivism. So in critical theory, we discuss that positivism and post-positivism both can be criticized. Any theory can be criticized. Like, for example, Shakespeare writes, so we have critical appreciation, although he's a great man, writer, but still we can criticize his theory. So similarly, we can criticize different international theories in the critical theory. It's a very interesting field if you go for critical theory. Feminism is that, for example, gender. What is the role of gender? For example, in diplomacy, if there is a female diplomat or a male diplomat, or for example, even sex workers, female sex workers are used for espionage. They are used as spies. Or for example, there is Iron Lady, Margaret Thatcher. If she is the Prime Minister of British Empire, United Kingdom. So what will be the situation? If male and female, is there any difference in international relations? So feminism is again a very interesting theory, the role of gender, that how gender plays a role in establishing relations between or among countries. The last one that we have here, the critical theory, that is constructivism. Constructivism is that whatever we have studied in idealism, realism, liberalism, in all these theories, these are not the product of human nature, but these are constructions. We construct these things. We make the things happen. The things do not happen to us. This is constructivism, that the things do not happen in a natural course of action. This is not reality. That, for example, what realism says, that this is the human nature, that human wants power and balance of power and anarchy, and state should be more powerful than international organizations. This is not reality. This is not like natural process. We make things like this and then we understand it. So these are different theories and approaches to understand international relations. This is my third lecture on international relations. One was theoretical lecture. The second, that was the definition, scope of international relations. And now this was the theories and approaches to differentiate. I will be also giving some notes and copies from internet that you can understand these theories. But try to understand these theories in a very educational way. Try to understand that, for example, ask yourself questions. What is the difference between realism, idealism and liberalism, liberalism and neo-liberalism, realism and neo-realism, critical theory and postmodernism, feminism, what is feminism in international relations, and constructivism. So there are so many theories and approaches, but these are important ones. So I hope you can make a summary of this lecture, and you can ask questions, and you can discuss these theories with each other so that you can inculcate. I need feedback from you, please. Thank you.